Hello there everybody. Welcome to another wonderful World vs. World build guide. This time we're going to be looking at the support scrapper. For gear you want to run full minstrels. I'm missing one piece but I'll get it probably eventually. Monk runes for the extra boon duration, the healing every 15 seconds, and the outgoing healing effectiveness. On your weapons you want to run pistol shield with superior sigil of transference, just an extra boost to your outgoing healing power, and a sigil of renewal, which is a 2.5k heal every 9 seconds for everybody around you. And it's a little over 1k heal for you personally. For your skill sets, you're going to be using Inventions, Alchemy, and Scrapper. Inventions, you're going to be, well, you get a condition removed for everybody near you and protection for everybody near you whenever you use your personal heal. But honestly, you really aren't going to use that much. I think in our reset night run last night, I used it twice total. The self-healing this puts out is just ridiculous. Overshield for your shield. You can run hammer instead of pistol shield, but I think pistol shield's better. First off, you get a blast finisher, which allows you to do a little bit of extra healing. You get good protection output for your partners. You get a block still, and you can throw it for a daze. Pistol 3 is great for tagging enemies as well as Pistol 1. You put out so much healing for everybody near you that really whoever it is that you hit, you're going to get a bag from. Like you're definitely going to tag whoever it is that you attack. That's kind of the main draw behind this. You don't have to be as close as you do with a hammer. Hammer does provide you with a stun field though, which is nice, but this hits like a limp dick, so I don't know if it's worth losing all that protection and a blast finisher in order to have a 1 second stun. You're never going to want to use rocket charge because it's just going to take you off tag. This is a personal block. Neither of these have any range at all, so this is really your only way to tag if you're using hammer, and that's just not that effective. So there's your overshield. Soothing Detonation heals every time that you use a blast finisher in any field. Ideally you want to prioritize light fields and water fields, but it doesn't really matter which one you use. Obviously it's better to blast a water field if you need the healing, and better to blast a light field if you need the Condi cleanse, but you can just blast indiscriminately. It doesn't really fucking matter. You're going to do so much healing anyway, it doesn't make a difference. Energy Amplifier, free 250 healing power. You will always have regeneration up. And this bad boy right here, Medical Dispersion Field, is fucking ridiculous. They really shouldn't have made it plus 50% of your personal healing, because you have a lot of ways to regain health and generate it on yourself as an engineer, and it just spreads it out to everybody nearby. What's also great about this is it doesn't get wasted on anybody who is full on health. So if you're with your party and everybody in your party is full on health, this prioritizes whoever the next closest target is that is not full on health. So anybody who stays on tag just gets constant like dumps of healing the entire time that you're fighting. For alchemy, we have Lesser Elixir B, which just generates some boons for you. Lesser Elixir C, which clears a couple of conditions and in turn generates boons. And Compounding Chemicals, which gives you a heal and concentration bonus. Concentration bonus is static. The healing happens every time that you grant yourself a boon. So every 60 seconds you get 2 boons, which gives you 140 HP, which gets shared to everybody nearby. Every 30 seconds you get 4 boons, or excuse me, you get, because it counts might each individual stack, it doesn't count it on each application, so that's what, 8? So that every 30 seconds this fires off 8 times, so it heals you for whatever 8 times 77 is, and then shares that out to everybody else. Dispersion Field is also modified by any healing output modifiers you have, like health insurance, which gives you 20% in medkit or 10% outside of medkit. It ends up being with this build something like 65% healing effectiveness. So all of your healing that you're putting out is 50% of your personal healing and then plus 60% of that added on. Comeback Cure gives regeneration to anybody who you remove a condition from. And this build has a lot of condition clearing. So every time that you clear a condition from anybody in your Zerg, you're giving them regeneration. Which is really great for kind of spreading out your healing. Purity of Purpose completely counteracts corruption. So if your group is running through a bunch of Scourge bullshit and like there's a bunch of condition corruption going on, this reverts it all back into boons. And again, since this build has so many different ways to clear conditions, it pretty much just converts all of that shit back into boons on your group, which makes it great as a kind of counterpart for both a boon share mesmer and a firebrand. Um, and especially if you put it in a party with a boon share mesmer, every time that mesmer gets any kind of condition, you're going to cleanse it right off of them, turn it into a boon, which they then share out to everybody nearby. So really strong. And for your last line, you're going to be using Scrapper. Function Gyro is great. It's a way to res somebody. You're never going to use it for stomping in World versus World. It's kind of a waste. But if you got somebody who's down off tag, like say an Ellie that couldn't quite make it back, or if in the middle of a push you have somebody who kind of gets murked and they fall off to the side, you can throw a Function Gyro on them to help them get back up, or at the very least keep them alive long enough that they're going to get a rally. Perfectly weighted. You aren't using a hammer, so you don't get anything out of the damage, but it's free extra stability, and since this build only runs with one stun break, any stability that you can get is good stability to have. Shocking speed's not that amazing for this. You're going to get most of your super speed from Final Salvo, and the barrier on using your heal skill is pretty much useless. First off, you're never going to need the barrier. Secondly, like, you barely ever use your personal heal. This is just free super speed for anybody that you revive, and a little bit of barrier to help get them back into the group. Rapid regeneration is fucking amazing. So I don't have regen on me right now. Let's see.
Eat my dust.
So 186 healing per second, which does get shared by Dispersion Field at plus 65% healing power, or 65% healing effectiveness. Gives you like 100 to 120 health per second tick for everybody nearby. And if you have super speed, then it's like 400 every second for everybody nearby while you have it. Great for personal sustain, great for group sustain. It really helps to top people off. This, in conjunction with this, with your medical dispersion field, means that anybody who's nearby you, who's low on HP, or even just slightly below full HP, it'll first heal them back up, and then it'll target whoever's nearby as well. So it very, very quickly gives everyone around you regeneration that is able to stack with the regeneration you're already giving them. So everybody around you gets like 500 health per second just ticking every second just because you're there. Impact Savant, completely useless. If you're getting a barrier from a Scourge, then great. 15% of 1k is nothing. Final Salvo, you can run Adaptive Armor, but Final Salvo is kind of better for your group, especially since you're going to be running with at least 2 gyros and possibly 3 depending on what kind of a party you're in. Extra stability, so whenever you're going into a push, you can drop your gyros first so you don't have to burn your defense field. And this only gives you stability, it doesn't give stability to everybody around you. But for your first push, the Firebrand in your group should be running stability for your initial push. This is more for your secondary push. What's really neat about this is that whenever your gyros are destroyed, either by you or by damage, they leave behind a 3-second long field that gives super speed to everybody who runs through it. So let's say that you're in the middle of a fight and your gyros are kind of hanging behind you because they follow you probably about 400 units behind. If anybody who's behind the tag gets hit with a bomb, and it's a bomb that's big enough to destroy the gyro, then anybody who's inside of that gyro field gets super speed, which allows them to catch back up to the group faster, or to get out of the bomb quicker. So that's really nice. Also, it helps for stacking swiftness. Like, you can always blow up a gyro for a lightning field and then use your multitude of blast finishers to give everybody around you a minute of swiftness at a time. So we already went over your pistol and shield. Let's take a look at your tool belt skills next. You have Bandage Self, which is a great personal heal. Half of it, or like 70% of it, gets shared out to everybody nearby you. Gives out protection, gives out condi clearing, so great to use if you need a little bit of extra healing for the people around you, but you probably won't need it much for yourself. This is more of a burst heal for everyone around you. This is your only stun break. Be careful when you're using it. You want to ideally have up stability, so you have to be a little bit proactive with getting your stability up so that you don't get caught down with just healing mist as your only way out. It's also a nice bit of extra regeneration for everybody around you, so this can help keep everybody up. Chemical Field is pretty much useless. So I drop this whenever we run over somebody who's down, or a group of down people. So once we've passed through where we bombed and they have some downs on there, I throw this on top because it stops them from getting back up as quickly and effectively, and it also helps to tag them so that you get their bags. Defense field is great for your second push or every other push. Ideally what you want to do is you want to run your gyros for your first push for personal stability, and your firebrand will cover group stability. Second push, you run defense field so that your group gets stability and you get stability. Third push, you just alternate back again. So you back to gyros and your firebrand back to using their group stability. Detection pulse is great for whenever you have a mirage or a mesmer nearby that's going to be portaling, or just for catching people kind of with their pants down. If you know it's coming, this is a 1200 radius and it's a 6 second of revealed. So if you can catch a mesmer with this, your range people can just knock them right down. For the rest of your skills, you want to run stealth gyro if you're in the commander party because it pulses stealth. So let's say that you're running into a Zerg and your commander is right up at the front. Well, with this stealth, then the enemy can't see which way you're going to be moving because everyone's going to follow the tag, and if they can't see the tag, then it costs them a second or two. So it takes longer for them to adjust to where you're going to be at next. It's also really nice for stopping anybody from pin sniping. You really can't pin snipe a commander that's got a sneak gyro going. You can't target them. Plus, just an extra super speed field whenever it dies. Bulwark gyro reduces incoming damage for your party. It usually gets killed pretty quickly, which is good because it means that it gives everybody who's straggling behind the tag a chance to catch up with the super speed. I always use it for alternating pushes because it's free damage reduction. You're really only taking this to get this, but that's a pretty nice side effect. Purge gyro is something I know that a lot of people don't like to run for support scrapper, but 2 conditions converted into boons every 3 seconds for 5 people is a lot of fucking boons. That's a lot of conditions cleared as well. And since it's always going to target you first, it always is going to give an extra little bit of healing for everybody around you. Now for the big two, your med kit and your elixir gun. Elixir gun has 3 useful skills on it. Fumigate removes 5 conditions 5 times, so 25 total conditions converted into boons, and it's got a good range at 450. The way that you want to use this is to target your commander or target wherever the center of your Zerg is, and then use this. It actually targets friendly targets, not only enemy targets. So this is great for getting kind of a localized condi clear, and since it sprays everywhere, that whole area gets their conditions cleansed and turned into boons. Super elixir is just a little bit of healing, a little bit of condition cleansing. What's great about it is that light field and that you can do it from a range. So that's a pretty fair range you have on that. And if you're running through it, you can about face and then elixir gun, so you don't lose any speed, and it clears 2 conditions for everybody who's nearby, which converts them into boons, and since it will prioritize you first, also gives healing. What I generally like to do is drop super elixir, and if you don't want to do the about face and turn, you can also just stow weapon. So elixir, jump, stow, and then pop it again with your shield 4. So that's 4 conditions converted into boons for everybody around that elixir, a fair amount of healing, or excuse me, 5 from the elixir itself. So 5 conditions converted into boons for everybody nearby. It's a pretty solid condi clear. For your med kit, you have 2 pretty big heals here in the 2 and 4. Vital Burst gets affected by not only your outgoing healing effectiveness, but also Medical Dispersion Field. So this heals everyone around you, heals you, which then causes it to heal everyone around you a second time. This ends up being something like a 6k heal for a 300 radius, which isn't bad. The thing that Scrapper really lacks is something like a 10k heal. It really doesn't have one, and it really doesn't need one. The sustained healing for everybody around you is so much that at most you're going to need that 4k, 5k just to get somebody from like 1% health all the way back up to full in 2 seconds anyway. Infusion Bomb, Swiftness, Vigor, Regeneration, and the combo to use there is you want to throw 5 and then drop 3. And since it's got that big overlap, it's pretty hard to miss. This will clear conditions from everybody who's following behind you. This heals everybody around you in addition to healing them a second time because of Soothing Detonation. And since these are AoE heals, they heal the Scrapper as well. So if you have any missing health, it'll reverberate off of you by medical dispersion field to everyone around you a second time. So dropping your 5 then 3 blasts it, creates a water field, blasts the water field, blasts it a second time, heals you both times, which then heals everybody else 2 more times. The feedback on this build is fucking nuts. Your bandage blast is healing, and it shoots out 5 bandages in front of you. And it doesn't matter where you're facing, they always skirt right above the ground. They're also unblockable, so you can use it inside of a spellbreaker bubble. And the closer that you are to somebody, the more likely they are to get all 5 bandages. So if you see somebody who's low on health and you run up next to them and hit them with that, you'll put them from no health to full health immediately. 8-second cooldown, pretty fucking strong. Med Blaster. This heals in pulses, and it is affected by your outgoing healing effectiveness, which is an additional 10% because you're in medkit. This is kind of your bread and butter. You're going to use this just all of the time. Whenever you aren't using any of these other skills, this is what you're going to be spamming. Med Blaster. 600 radius or range, and it affects 5 targets each. So every 1.25 seconds, it does about 1.6k healing to 5 targets, and you can just spam it. There's no cooldown. The radius is a lot farther than that. It's actually something like this. So it's got a pretty fair cone on it. And ideally with this build, you want to be in the middle of the shit anyway, because the less health that you have, the more healing you do to yourself, the more healing you share out to everyone else. You don't want to, this isn't a build where you want to be sitting in the background. You don't want to be off tag. You want to be right in the middle of the bullshit. Because the more that you're healing yourself, the more conditions you're clearing, the more overall healing you put out for everyone around you. So standard rotation for this build is going to be as you're running into a Zerg, you want to drop all of your gyros, giving you 3 stacks of stab, condi clearing, bulwark, stealth, etc. You want to use your 5 as you're running up. Just as it's ending, throw it into the enemy Zerg. Press T to target your commander. And then you're going to swap into your medkit and either spam 1 if you don't need any big healing. If you do need big healing, then 5 and 3. If you need more healing, 2, 4. If your group stab gets stripped, you can apply it there quickly. You can drop a elixir, blast again, and you can fumigate. So let me find somebody who's a little further away. So let's say that you are running into the Zerg. You've just thrown your shield. Now you can press T and then fumigate right towards your commander. If you aren't facing somewhat near the commander, then it won't target them, but let me see if I can show you again what I mean. So right now I'm facing this way, but I have the deer targeted, and he'll target the deer, or at least try and get as close to it as is possible. And that's pretty much it. It's pretty intuitive. It might take you a couple of days to get used to it because the healing styles are very different from everything else out there, but the effectiveness of it is really great. So I guess the big things are gyros for your first push, alternating with defense field for your second push. That way you've always got stab up. Make sure that you target your commander before using Med Blaster or Fumigate, and the rest of the skills just kind of use whenever the fuck you feel like you need them. Alright, hang tight, and there's a video at the end of this.
Walk around our town, wander around your place. Fuck it out, get faded, then won't leave the house for days. Don't wanna rinse you off, or forget the aftertaste. Living in the past, even though I know it's bad for me. So I've been looking out, keeping track of you. I try to go, but all the roads just circle back to you. Hold it in my mind, then I focus in. Searching for a sign that you're not over this. Whoa, I got a lock on you, I got a lock on you, I got a lock on you. Oh, boy, I've been caught on you. Hope you've been watching me like I've been watching you. You're in my telescope. Oh, 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 oh. You're in my telescope. Oh, 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 oh. You're in my telescope. Oh, 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 oh. You're in my telescope. Oh, 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 oh. Went out a couple nights, but I did nothing fun. Slipped up a couple times, till I had nothing on. Told myself a couple lies, well that's just how it's done. Oh, never tried this hard to fall this out of love. So I've been looking out, keeping track of you. I try to go, but all the roads just circle back to you. Hold it in my mind, then I focus in. Oh, searching for a sign that you're not over this. Whoa, I got a lock on you, I got a lock on you, I got a lock on you, oh. Boy, I've been caught on you, hope you've been watching me like I've been watching you. You're in my telescope, oh, 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 oh. You're in my telescope, oh, 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 oh. You're in my telescope, oh, 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 oh. You're in my telescope. Oh,